Anyway, what I wanted to do this morning, I was going to start a new series in regards to dealing with some of the amenities and some of the equipment and modes that are out there. We did it last summer, and I've got enough to last me 2 months in Saturday presentations. So I was going to start briefly, and it's only 20 after 11. We did get sidetracked, but this is good. I mean, we shared a lot of good information. People showed their installations, talked about antenna installations and that. A lot of good ideas being, thrown around that way too. But one I wanted to talk to you about that's rarely used here on Manitoulin, and that, just give me 2 seconds to bring it up here. All right, and go over here. And it's not that long, so I'll just quickly go through it. And it's something that you may or may not be interested in, but something that you should be aware, especially if you're part of the Manitoulin Club and some of the things that we have to offer with it. And that's in regards to the DMR mode. Now, Bill, I know you're on here. You have a lot of experience and background information in relation to DMR. So if you have anything you want to share with us, please jump in and some of your experiences. And I know some of you have also used DMR communications. Now, the primary digital mode here on Manitoulin is D-Star. It will always be D-Star and be used. We have our various nets and that are continue to go. And I'm not saying go out and get yourself a DMR radio. But what I do want to share with you is that if you're looking for something a little different or something new out there and you like digital applications, then definitely DMR is a mode that you should be a little bit aware of and out there. And of all the digital modes, DMR is the cheapest, less expensive of any other mode that is out there. So it's something to think about. Now here on Manitoulin, we have the V3 RXR DMR repeater. There are DMR repeaters popping up all over the place. DMR is becoming probably the most popular digital mode, very close to Yaesu and very close to D-Star with it. But it's growing worldwide. Here in North America, you're probably going to find more System Fusion, C4FM, and D-Star. But DMR is becoming a very, like they're neck and neck. If they were racing, it would be like D-Star this week is up or DMR is up ahead this week. They're very, very close. So let me just quickly go through it, and then I'll give you a couple of quick demos, and then open it up for questions and answers there for sure. So let me go through here. Hang on, where's my clip? All right, there we go. So what is digital mobile radio? That's DMR. That's what it stands for, digital mobile radio. It's the ETSI. If you're not sure what ETSI, it's the European Telecommunications Standard Institute. Basically, it's all worldwide standards that they do. So whether you have DMR here in North America or in Europe, it's the same. There are over a dozen manufacturers of various radios out there: Connect Systems, Anytone, Titera, Vertex, Motorola, Kenwood, Alinco. Everybody is getting into the DMR market out there. You will not see ICOM or Yaesu get in DMR because they have their own digital mode, right? So you're not going to see too much of that. It is superior voice quality, uses the Ambient +2 versus older digital modes, the AMB or the IMB or the GMSK. So the audio quality on DMR is very, very nice. Sometimes even better than D-Star, and very close to System Fusion. It's hard to tell the difference between that. Longer battery life. Everybody complains, oh my God, my battery's gone dead or whatever. DMR has long battery life with it. Supports multiple talk groups on one frequency, which is quite neat. And of course, not used too much, but does have the applications and all the new radios. Is just like your cell phone where you send emails and text one another. Well, you can do that very easily over DMR, over a repeater, and text somebody else to their radio. Okay,
you can
without any.
also,
Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead,
you can
Bill.
also text. You can also text cell phones with AMBE it's called SMS GTE. It's on. You can use it through APRS or through the functions on DMR.
Well, there you go. So so it'll transfer through in regards to going on the SMN or
SMS, yeah.
SMS, yeah, group. So yeah, so if I had my handheld, I could pick up that, go in there, and text somebody on their cell phone,
and vice versa, and back and forth. Yeah, it goes by your call sign through your. You know how you have SSIDs on APRS? It uses the APRS network, but since you have the text and GPS and stuff like that, it's just it's easy on DMR, I find.
Perfect. So again, it's a lot of manufacturing equipment. You've probably seen a lot of these. That in regards to Kenwood and ICOM, they use a different technology with digital in the commercial area. It's called, with ICOM, it's called IDAS, and with Kenwood, it's what they call Next Edge or NXDN technology with it. But Motorola was the primary with DMR, and then a lot of the Chinese groups like Titera, TYT, and some of the other groups, Anytone, and that picked up on the DMR area. One of the interesting things, one of the standards, is that it's a two-tier system, which means you've got repeater slot 1, repeater slot 2, and it uses what we call time slots, which means you can have on the same repeater 2 separate conversations going at the same time on the same frequency and not really interfere with one another. It's amazing technology with it. And it can be multi-channel, multi-site. We have MMDVM modem that is running on a digital repeater up at the top of the hill. And right now, and I'll show you that in a few minutes, it's on DMR. So basically, it's 2 repeaters in one. You have 2-channel analog or digital system. Ours is strictly digital on the system, and it combines the various systems. But with the digital, it's 1 repeater, 1 frequency, but you have 2 availabilities depending if you go on time slot 1 or time slot 2 to have 2 conversations at the same time. If we were to take RMI and wanted to have 2 separate conversations on RMI's frequency, we'd need to have another repeater at the site on a separate frequency and run it that way. The nice thing about any digital mode, and we've talked about this in the past, is half the bandwidth in relation to the communications. And that with it, with traditional analog, we're using 25 kilohertz spacing. When we go to DMR, we're using half that, which means we can have more repeater pairs, more conversations in our spectrum on our 2 meter or 440 UHF band and get more information in there. So that's one of the things that we're looking at, that we can have more that way. More spectrum efficient than older digital modes, so which is kind of interesting. And it works pretty well with the 12.5 kilohertz spacing. C4FM has the two modes. If anybody's got a System Fusion C4FM digital radio, you know they've got DN mode and VM. Okay, digital narrow and voice
wide.
Voice wide, VW, yeah, voice wide mode. Voice wide uses 12.5. The DN uses 6.25. So similar to D-Star is only 6.25. That's why the audio quality, you've got more spectrum. It's a little better using C4FM or DMR in that regard. Again, we've talked about this with the other D-Star and C4FM, but D-Star or DMR is the same. Your signal quality is better. You don't get any of that hiss noise, the white noise, bacon frying that we always refer to. That's gone. No popping or static. You get better range. If you've got an analog and an analog radio, point A to point B, okay, talking to one another, if you were to change it out with digital and digital, you'd go this much further with it because the digital signal is just pure voice communication that's getting forward, and it's got the forward correction and forward error and correction rate on it that way with it. And you know, when you hear a digital conversation on DMR, you will find it does sound better than the older digital technologies. It does work very well. One of the selling features now is the longer battery life on DMR, the TDMA versus the FDMA. For each hour of usage, TDMA radios show between a 19 and 34% less battery capacity is required. So if I put on I have an Anytone digital radio, this battery, I can charge it up and monitor and listen to it 2 or 3 days before it goes dead. You know, where my ICOM, where have I got my ICOM radio? I'm lucky if I get 5 hours out of it before I have to recharge the battery on my ICOM with my D-Star. Unbelievable the difference, you know, in battery life. So, I mean, that's another good selling feature with it. Again, as Bill was alluding to, we got free text messaging sent to one person or a group of people. The other thing is weather alerts can be done, notices in regards to club meetings, net announcements, whatever you want to do. I can go on DMR. If everybody else had DMR, I could send to a group listing as long as you're part of that group. Then I can send out a random message. Everybody's radios would go off with a text message. Meet me tonight at 7:30 for the DMR net or something to that nature. So, you know, you can do whatever you want. Again, the Motorola Amateur Radio Club Worldwide Networks, DMR MARC, MARC, was the Motorola Amateur Radio Club. Similar, not the Manitoulin Amateur Radio Club. There's a lot of marks out there, but anyway. They started things off, and that's where it was. And I remember seeing their booth at Dayton one year, and there were people hovering around it, and I thought, that'll never take off. Well, bite my words, it definitely did. And again, 100% pure digital. Now, at the time that this PowerPoint presentation was put together, 29,500. There are now over 200,000 registered DMR users worldwide. A lot of you have already got your DMR number. You got to go to radioid.net. It's similar to registering on D-Star. You have to register if you want to use DMR and get a 7-digit number, where that 7-digit number gets programmed into the radios and onto the network system. And doesn't matter where you are in the world, it recognizes your number and it'll come back with your name and address and that with it on it. Again, There are repeaters that are coming up all over the U.S. and this PowerPoint presentation, again, I beg, borrow, and stole from it. But as you will see, there are various DMR with the pinpoints and the bubbles and that with it. This is DMR locations. And if you see this is showing over Montreal, there are quite a number of DMR repeaters. Toronto has a number of them, and they're popping up all over. And here we are in Little Current on Manitoulin. Similar to D-Star, if you're living up in Elliott Lake, you'd be able to access it no problem at all. And possibly even Sudbury, if you're able to get into the D-Star repeater, chances are you'll be able to hit the DMR repeater too. These are just some local repeaters that were listed in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and that with it. New England and the East Coast there. DMR is more popular in some locales, and it depends on the club, right? If you get a local club person, and we started with D-Star, and D-Star is prominent, and we kind of push D-Star, and most of you have D-Star radios, and it's being used, and it's active, and it's there. DMR, you're going to find, is 10 times more active at times than D-Star, depending on where you go. But it's just because of different areas. Maybe they push DMR in some clubs more so than here. And again, New England states, the east, northeast of the US and Canada is primarily DMR. That's why when we have a D-Star net, and I say, okay, anybody in Newfoundland or Labrador, or anybody in Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and that, if I was doing a DMR net, oh my God, boom, 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 boom. They'd be in there all the time, because that's where the majority of the hams on the East Coast, where as soon as you get further west, you'll hear more hams on D-Star. It's just the way it goes. And that, as you can see, this is a little chart on growth. And I mean, this has gone back to 2009 up to January 2016. Well, we're 5 years beyond that, and they were up at 25 or 35,000, no, 25,000. Now they're up over 200,000. What happens is these radios here, they put contact information files, okay, or spaces in the radios. And when they first came out, they had 50,000 and then 100,000. And that. This one here does 200,000. And it's the latest DMR radio, and 200,000 contacts. People were thinking, oh, you'd never fill that, right? Well, they've gone over the 200,000 mark now. So now the new upgraded radio to this, they call it either a Pro or a Plus or whatever. It's the next thing with it. It's got 500,000 contacts in it. So it's really popped up that way. And these are just some numbers just to show back in the late, or the early 2010s there, how it's increased every year. Well, it was like D-Star too, people coming on and that. And it shows, how the different systems work, the repeater, the regions. Again, this is primarily the East Coast and that with it. When you look at a Motorola DMR repeaters, primarily they're all Motorola. And this is what the some of the repeaters look like. This is an 8400. Again, similar to any other repeater, we use duplexers, separate the transmit and the receiver side of things, and that. And Motorola equipment is very, very good. We're using a Tate multi-digital repeater up on McLean's Mountain. It is an excellent, it's an Australian-based repeater with a Pi 3 board running an DVM board, which means that repeater can do any digital mode. It can do DMR, it can do system fusion, it can do D-Star, it can do P25, it can do all those modes. It's just how we decide to set it up. and primarily to give variety out there, I've had it set up as a DMR repeater running. And these are just different people. You can look on eBay for the various different types of radios. So the makes are Anytone, and we'll talk about Anytone in a few minutes. This is Chinese, but I'll tell you, this is very close to Motorola capability. These radios are excellent. It shows it booting up. And then you can program your call sign and your name in it. And then it comes up and it's got a full color display with it. And they work pretty neat. They're really nice. The next one.
I have the same radio, just mine's a B-Tech.
Oh, okay, B-Tech. All right. Well, there's something. I think, Tom, are you still on with us? Yeah, you're up in the corner there. Yeah, you got a B-Tech Bofang, right? Yeah, good company indeed. This is a Chinese make called TYT. Again, DMR radio. Paid less than $100 for it, and it's got the digital readout on it, and that with it, it works extremely well, and yeah. They do quite good. Other models you can get off. Yep.
Alinco.
Alinco. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. Alinco make a very good mode with it. Here is what they call a Zastone. All right. You probably never heard of that. Again, a Chinese kickoff of the TYT. $79 for the radio, and good quality, works very nice, and good audio in relation to that. Again, a couple of websites you can go to, dmrmark.net, but the big one now is the Brandmeister. It's a German-based group that have basically taken over. Now there's another one called TGIF. The old, thank God it's Friday, but it's basically another network that you can use on various talk groups to talk to people. Brandmeister seems to be the most popular one. Mark networks are out there too. So again, just an overall view of why DMR, spectrum efficient, supported by multiple manufacturers, automatic roaming for safe driving. So if you've got a DMR radio in the car, it'll automatically roam the various talk groups. Longer battery life, 3-year warranties on many of the radios, and resilient networks. No servers needed at sites, and that with it. So questions and that with it. So that was a bit of the presentation that I had for you. Just to give you an idea for audio quality and that. Bill, are you able to go through a hotspot or connect to a talk group at?
I should be able to, yeah.
Okay.
302.310 or?
Yeah, 302.310. So if you're on there, go ahead. So take a look at my radio.
Victor Echo 3, Whiskey Juliet.
Victor Echo 3, Whiskey Juliet. Okay.
Okay, there will be a bit of a delay, lag time, because of my internet and the internet with it. So Bill is sitting in Sudbury. Here I am in Little Current, and we're able to talk crystal clear to one another. So V3 WVA, V3 AJB.
V3AJB, this is V3WVJ. Oh, maybe that one didn't go through. I might have not let a little bit of time between.
So watch my display here, people. Watch what happens.
VE3WVJ.
Okay. His name, his location, everything came up with it that way. Now, we have two ways of doing it. Okay. This right now, I'm connected with my open spot, which is running up on my dash there. You see the one with the blue box up here with the little green lights? So Bill, go ahead and make just a quick transmission.
Victor Echo 3, Whiskey Victor Juliet, testing.
Yeah. So what happens is the red light flashes, and it's telling me that it's connected that way with it. So
that the unit is in transmit, the MMDBM.
Yeah. So we'll see if anybody else is connected. This is a talk group that we use amongst local hams around Ontario. All right. Well, thank you very much, Bill, for coming back. Just curious, is anybody else monitoring 302310 for a Zoom demo presentation? Not sure, Al, AM, if you're out there, or any of the other hams around. Anybody else back? Please do. 3AJ. Okay, well, I guess not. Nobody's kicking around. They're probably out enjoying the nice day with it and that, which can easily happen. Now, other things that you can find. This is a Motorola used radio. Now, Motorola radios are pretty expensive. If you were going to buy a Motorola radio brand new, you could be paying up to $1,000 for it with it. However, through knowing people and that, especially he's not on here, Bill, V3BK, and Ken, V3PHC, and even Tom sometimes gets some connections over in Sudbury through the through some of the mines and that, where they get rid of the older radios and they go to newer radios, right? Nothing wrong with the older radios, they're good. And sometimes you can get a pretty good deal on these, like $100 or $50 or something like that. And these are great. I mean, you're dealing with Motorola, top technology, and you know, they're a pretty good radio. If I go on 202310, let me just turn the other radio off. Now I'm going to go through my repeater on the top of the hill. Before the other handheld, I had it on a simplex. So I'm going through RXR DMR on the top of the hill. V3WVJ, V3AJV.
Yeah. When you hear yourself, eh?
I hear myself. There's a delay coming through my
yeah.
So yeah, V3WVJ, V3AJV going through the V3RXR DMR.
Hearing you loud and clear, V3AJB, V3WVJ.
Well, I didn't hear you.
I'm a little ways away from my hotspot in the backyard here because I got the concrete wall. It kind of, it's at the front of the house, so I have to put it on. It sometimes gives me a little bit of
trouble with it. Okay. Yeah.